Today's video is about speed versus being more prepared. I've chosen a timeline from 2019 to 2023 because there were three major market shifts during this time period. The first is 2020, which is COVID, which has disrupted almost all the industries. And the second is from 2021 to 2023, which is a shortage in semiconductor chips in automobile industry. And the third is EV revolution. People have started to transition from a traditional motor car to EV motor cars. And these two companies are giant companies, and these two companies have won in these market shifts. In the past few decades, success in automobile industry was producing safer cars, producing efficient cars with good amount of mileage, and then having some luxurious features in them, cost cutting strategies, and selling more number of cars. But the game started to change by 2020 when the COVID had set in. On the other hand, the electric cars, which were a niche area, started to get into mainstream. Bigger companies started to produce EVs, and this has become the mainstream. They wanted to topple the traditional automaking and get the people into EV segment. The industry was no longer betting on manufacturing and selling more number of cars. It was competing on supply chain management, softwares, and adaptability. Toyota and Tesla started to face this, but both these companies have taken completely different strategies. And these two strategies made these companies win. Let us now get into the decisions of Tesla in their financial statements. Instead of waiting for those chips which were unavailable in the market, Tesla found out some alternative chips, and it has directed its engineers to write code for those alternative chips. So this is speed, my dear friends. So Tesla was not dependent on any other company for its internal software. The second decision of Tesla was to come up with gigafactories. Before the market's disruption, Tesla already had a front row seat for the biggest EV market in the world. Strategy number 3, vertical integration. Tesla has invested heavily in batteries, and it also made agreements with those mining companies which were responsible for minerals in batteries. Decision number 4, cutting profitability. My dear friends, this is one of the most aggressive decisions that a company can take, which is to cut its own profitability. Now, why did Tesla cut its own profitability by 20%? While all the factories around the world were stopping because of chip deficiency, Tesla understood that that is the right time for it to disrupt the traditional automaking industry, and it just cut its profitability by 20%. Tesla's strategy was quite simple: move faster than anyone else in the industry. Now, let us look at the financial statements of Tesla. This is the financial statements of Tesla. Now, let us find out if the numbers supported the strategy or not. Very clearly understand that the share capital has increased exponentially, and so did the reserves and surplus, from negative to a whopping 28,000 million, my dear friends. So this is a great increase. On the other hand, if we look at non-current liabilities, there is a decrease in non-current liabilities, and that, my friends, is an exceptional thing. Of course, there will be an increase in short-term borrowings as it is required for the company to use this as leverage. If we look at the non-current assets, the non-current assets have tripled, my dear friends. That is exceptional as well. The current assets have expanded rapidly. Inventory increased substantially as the production has scaled. Tesla is not simply selling more cars. Tesla is actually building an ecosystem, my dear friends. That's what we can observe from the financial statements. Perhaps the most impressive observation is the profitability. Let me just show you. There is a huge amount of profitability here. We can find that the amount of scaling here is out of the charts. I have come up with a new financial model where I give you the efficiencies of each line item. If you want your company's analysis, then you can contact me on LinkedIn. You can find the efficiency here, my dear friends, from 2600 to 4800. That is not a very big increase. I'll show you the increase. The total revenue has increased from 24,000 to 106,000, my dear friends. That is an impressive increase. This revenue expanded dramatically. Selling expenses increased at a much slower pace. Net profits increased approximately 862 million to nearly 15 billion. Look at this. From negative to 14,974. Isn't that exceptional? Exactly. The company is displaying profitability characteristics that looks very close to a software company than a traditional automaker. Tesla is not just growing, but it is scaling. Back in 2011, when Japan was hit with a devastating earthquake and tsunami, Toyota understood that it needs to have a buffer. Toyota started to have an inventory buffer since then. 2021, Toyota did not have any issue with respect to chips. It was using its reserves. This is one of the best strategies in automobile industry. Strategy number 2, the multi-pathway strategy. While its competitors were running behind EV manufacturing, Toyota's management thought that the world is not ready for a complete EV transition, and hence it came up with a hybrid model where a car will run both on petrol, diesel, and on electric EV. This is a very big advantage internally for Toyota because a hybrid car wouldn't need more number of equipment and extra machinery. This gave Toyota an operational flexibility and eventually it led to operational efficiency. Let us now look at the financial statements of Toyota. These are the financial statements of Toyota. Again, if we start from the share capital, the company is actually making huge amounts of buyback, which is a very good sign. And then there is a huge amount of increase. But if we can find the difference between Tesla and Toyota, Toyota has a very steady increase, unlike Tesla. There is again a steady increase in non-current liabilities as well, and a steady increase in current liabilities. Perhaps the most impressive observation in this financial statement is consistency. Even if we look at the profit and loss statements, there is this consistency everywhere. And hence, my dear friends, let me tell you, this is one of the best financial statements that I have ever analyzed. There is an increase everywhere, but the increase is steady. Despite COVID, despite supply chain disruptions, despite inflation, Toyota's operations are remaining to be remarkably stable. Operational discipline has become financial resilience. While competitors were reacting to crisis, Toyota is benefiting from decisions made in the earlier years. And hence, my dear friends, this is an exceptional financial statement. If you are a business owner, then I would definitely suggest you to follow companies like Toyota. Okay, now let us get into the risks of these two companies. The rate at which Tesla is expanding, it needs a lot of fixed cost commitments, and that is definitely a very big risk. The second risk is price war risk. Tesla has decreased its profitability, but this is going to disrupt and damage the profitability of the whole industry, which is not good. Third risk, dependency risk. Tesla is dependent on batteries, it is dependent on softwares, it's also dependent on AI. And the mining companies, any of these companies get affected, then Tesla's manufacturing could get affected. Risk number 4, operational inefficiency. Company's growth cannot afford for any kind of operational inefficiency. Now let us look at the risks of Toyota. Risk number 1, EV transition risk. Let's say the world is changing faster than expected, then Toyota is definitely going to have a very big issue. Strong operational discipline can sometimes create strategic conservatism. Risk number 3, competitive risk. Chinese EV manufacturers are continuously producing their EV cars aggressively, which is definitely a concern for a company like Toyota. Risk number 4, margin compression risk. Future pricing power may not remain as strong as it was during the supply shortages. Now, let us look at the lessons that we ought to learn. Lesson number 1, there is no specific way for success. If you want to win, there could be multiple ways for us to win. Lesson number 2, preparation always beats prediction. COVID 19 was not predicted by Toyota, nor did it predict any of its earthquakes or tsunamis. But Toyota was always ready for any kind of ups and downs in the market. My final thoughts: crisis will definitely bring out your strengths, but not just your weaknesses. If you are strong, it's going to test your mettle. And also, those companies who are winners in a market shift are never those that have reacted to the market, but those who have been consistent and those who have adapted to the changes in the market. Thank you very much for watching this video. Yours financially, Vardhishna.